Well, welcome today. Today I have with me Geraldine Zadkiel, who has created some amazing courses on our platform. Today I'd just like to ask Geraldine 6 questions. And my first question for you, Geraldine, is
what is your core area of expertise, your zone of genius that you bring to your students or clients?
I'm a qualified kinesiologist and have been specialising in anxiety, depression and trauma for the past 18 years. And during this time, I guess my expertise is developing and delivering programs that allow you to have practical tools to change how you feel each day.
What is your professional background and what was your aha moment that led you to become a coach or a trainer in this field?
My background is I worked in corporate for many years, and I've had my own experiences of trauma and anxiety in the earlier years of my life. When I started going on my own journey to identify, I guess, why I'm doing what I'm doing, is that talk therapy initially didn't work for me because I tended to just loop around into patterns. And so when I started doing this work, I really wanted to work with the subconscious and meet the patterns and meet the reactions where they were being activated. And I guess that's the core of all the work that I do, is really to work with the subconscious to find where those patterns sit and how to change them. And that in turn changes the outcome. So it does create permanent change, and I was able to identify that in creating practical tools that you can use each day. So calming the nervous system, working somatically with the body, changing perceptions and belief systems on a subconscious level, not just talking about them. I do work with active affirmations rather than affirmations. So affirmations are just words that we can say. Active affirmations is when we cement them into our cellular structure, into our body, into our subconscious, and that's how we get a better result. Yeah, so that was my passion, was to find a way to change the outcome.
My next question is, what makes you the blue unicorn in your field, or what is your superpower?
My superpower in my field is I work alongside psychologists, counsellors and other practitioners where I go a lot deeper. I'm working with generational patterns and generational trauma. I'm working with the childhood trauma that gets activated and how that plays out in relationships, in workplaces, in our life. And then I'm taking that information and creating practical tools that they can use to change the outcome in those moments. So when we're working with the subconscious, people can be triggered into anger in milliseconds. And rather than slowing that down on a conscious level, we're going a little bit deeper as to where those anger triggers came from. And often they come from childhood. So once we go through that process, then the person becomes more aware of their physical body and how they're reacting, and they're able to change it somatically. So that makes it different because I'm really working with people who've had lots of trauma, not just someone who's having a bad day or perhaps, perhaps just had a death in the family, even though I do work with people like that, but often it's more deeper trauma than that. So when I work alongside a counsellor or a psychologist, they will go there and use a different part of the brain to talk to them, and they might be on medication. It's a completely different process. What I do complements that. So it helps speed up the process.
What industry myths or misconceptions do you love to challenge through your training?
I think that it is a myth that we need to relive our traumatic experiences or relive past relationships and pain that has been activated to heal it. So I'm writing a book. So it's in the process. I've probably only got another maybe 5 chapters to write, and it's basically all of my knowledge and my processes into a book. So it's the online courses, it's my retreat content, and it's pretty much everything's been put into this book.
If you could speak directly to one person in a company who truly needs what you offer, who would it be, what would you say to get their attention, and why are they the person who needs to hear it first?
Okay, so there's two aspects to that question. The first thing that first person I would like to speak to would be the person in HR who potentially has people away on leave for PTSD, depression, and anxiety. I would like to talk to them because they have probably been put into processes of limited counselling, psychology, and medication, and this would expand their avenue to other resources. Okay, so we're looking at the healing process as more holistic with a view to get that person back to work. So for me, I've had a client who came to me who had very serious PTSD, not particularly related to the work. They had an incident where they were involved in a shooting and created a lot of fear and a lot of looping around of fear around catching the train and all sorts of things. And I worked with them intently for 6 weeks, and they were able then to go back to work, and they actually did not have those PTSD experiences again. So that was really powerful, and I think that there are different options available to the HR managers. To the individual person, would like to talk to them about specifically what's happening to them is not actually happening right now. So often when we have long-term adrenal stress, anxiety, depression, trauma is generally related to childhood trauma and generational trauma that is now kind of leaking out into your workplace, into your relationships, relationship breakdowns, things like that. So I would like to speak to them about this is an opportunity to learn something new. It's not about going in and reliving the past, but it is about identifying that there is trauma there and there are new ways that we can move forward through that. So we can learn somatically how to work with the physical body, how to work with triggers that happen in relationships, how to have boundaries in relationships, communication, and basically how to work with the nervous system so that the patterns start to change and you feel more empowered to be part of that process.
Can you share a moment or story where you knew your work had made a real difference, something that captures why what you do matters?
Absolutely. I presented a retreat just last weekend, which was a group of 10 women who had been either working in domestic violence or have been on the other end of domestic violence. And throughout this one-day workshop, which is the same content that I do in my online course, basically. This was amazing. There was a girl there that, had pretty much shut down and checked out and potentially was suicidal. And there was other women there, mothers and daughters, where the pattern had gone down through the generation. So the mother experienced domestic violence, and then there was a child there, well, not a child, but a young adult who their first relationship was violent as well. At the end of the retreat, they had changed their demeanour. They're using the practical tools that I've given them. One was, not happy in the relationship. The partner was not meeting where the new partner was not meeting where she needed to be. And I just heard recently that there's been a big shift and they're about buying a house together, and she's using the tools, she's creating boundaries, she's communicating clearly. The other young lady, she has changed everything about her. So she, was looking after her son, taking her son to school, like all of these really physical changes really quite quickly. And it was a really powerful retreat. So the outcomes are there and they can happen instantly. And it wasn't just about domestic violence. It was more about where did the insecurities come from in the first place? Where did the unworthiness come from? The abandonment, all of those types of things. We didn't necessarily have to go into the trauma to heal it, but it was about learning new things, practicing those things over a period of 1 or 2 weeks, and they could see the outcome straight away.